So before we get started, I want to share a quick story. I can't tell you how many food founders I met who are doing everything right on the surface. They have a great product, customers love it, sales are coming in, but behind the scenes, they're stuck. They're not sure if their recipe will actually scale. They don't know if their cost will hold once volume increases. They're wondering if retail is the next step, or if they're moving too soon could hurt their business. And almost every time, the problem isn't effort or passion. It's that they don't have the clarity on where they are in the scaling journey. That's exactly why I created the Scale Up in Retail Readiness quiz. If you're not sure whether your food product is truly ready to scale, I've created the Scale Up in Retail Readiness quiz to help you get clarity. In just 3 minutes, you'll see where you stand and what to focus on next to grow your food business the right way. You can take the quiz through the link in the show notes. So let's dive into the episode today.
Margin will make or break your business. I recently spoke to a founder who had exited their business, and one of the reasons why they exited their business was it wasn't making sense anymore. Meaning they were not making money. They were just breaking even. And so whatever investment they put in, they get back the same amount, and there's no profit that they get to experience from the sales. And they had done it for so long. The thing is, they started out being profitable. And just over the years, and that's what we see in the food industry, the prices just keep going up and up. If it's not in the ingredients, it's in the transportation. If it's not in the transportation, it's in the listing fees and all the other fees that you have to pay when you're in retail. Which means, we used to, when I started back in the day, it was more like you have to have, at least for you to be profitable, it was mainly target like 30% margin, like 30% margin. And it would give you a cushioning. And let's say if something happens with the cost of ingredients, it would go down. And most of the time, it wouldn't go lower than 20%. So you still have the 20%. But then over the years, we just had to increase the margin as much as you can. If you're selling direct to consumer, you can tend to even have a 90%. It's always generous when you're selling direct to consumer. But that's the thing. Like when you're selling direct to consumer and you go retail, it's always a different pricing model. And it just ends up being low. If you get 50%, it's really good. If you get 70% direct to consumer, that's really, really, really good. Most of the time, it's usually 30% just because the pricing model is different from direct to consumer. But where am I going with this? It's more like for you to experience and have a profitable business, especially when you're starting out. Like when I was developing products, the financial team would say, you know what, I want 30% and I don't want anything less than 30%. If you can give me 50, even perfect, but I don't want anything less than 30%. And mainly because exactly what I just explained, pricing goes up, transportation, fees, just different things usually happen during the life of the product. And the only way you can still break even, especially when it comes to your SKU that is very profitable and your SKU that people know, like it's the original, that's the signature flavor that everybody knows about. Let's say you have like an oatmeal cookie product that you're selling. and you're known for that. Like you have a ginger flavor, and let's say you're known for that ginger flavor. Like you always want to, that's like the original recipe that people know you for, and you just want to continue to have that. But then over the years, the margin keeps decreasing. Like let's say you started with like a 30%, and then in 2 years, it goes down to 20. And then in like 3 years, it's still going down. You're down to like 15%. And you're at a point where now it's like, okay, I need to do something. Otherwise, I'm not going to be profitable, and I'm going to have to kill this flavor. And I don't want to kill the flavor because this is what people know my original product to be, and I want to maintain that. One of the things you can do to still have this product is reviewing the raw materials that are in it. Like, is there like a raw material that you could swap for a low cost ingredient and still maintain the same flavor profile? Because anytime you swap a raw material, it still needs to give you the same flavor profile. Like it still needs to be similar to the product, your target, like your benchmark. It still needs to be closer to the product that you've been selling and the product that consumers are used to. So how you go about swapping an ingredient, you evaluate, like if the ingredient is, let's say, oat. It's an oat flake that you add in your oatmeal cookie. You would then go sourcing and go scouting for 3 other suppliers, or even more if you can. But most of the time, it's like 3 that you can evaluate and see. And the other thing could be you look at like the ingredient that is most expensive. What can you do? What can you do to be able to lower that cost? What can you do to lower the cost if it's a more expensive raw material? Is there like a raw material that you can get closer to that could still give you the same properties, the same characteristics that will not change your product, but still you can still get the same flavor profile and you can still get the same product? So that's how you would go about that. When it comes to swapping, you really have to look at the flavor profile of your product. And I talk about when it comes to like your product, it's like what's the one thing that goes bad? Like what's the motor failure of your product? And also on the other sense too is what are the qualities that your product is known for? So those are the things that you need to list down. If your flavor profile that most of your customers know about is the oat that I'm talking about, then you still need to keep that oat. If let's say you're thinking about the oat is the most expensive, and right now the recipe calls for, let's say 50% of your recipe is oat. And you've done the calculation, and right now we're talking about like you're down to 10% margin, and your finance is telling you that you need to up it to like 30% or minimum 25% for you to still be in business and making money. Then you have to really look at your formulation and say, if I go down to 20% of oat, is my product still tasting the same way? And the other thing too is when it comes to reformulating your product, also there's the aspect of your raw material and your GS1 and your list of ingredients and just how it goes. Like if you are playing with the percentages of your flours, you still need to maintain the same. Otherwise, you need to change the labels. And packaging is an expensive venture. So you still want to maintain the same order of ingredients, even as you're you're reformulating it and you're still looking at your recipe. So these are some of the things that you need to think about when you're swapping. I know you were just talking about like swapping an ingredient, but it's not just swapping an ingredient. You have to look at holistically, what does that ingredient do in your product and what are the qualities that it contributes to. And the other thing is, what is your product known for? Do you have a maximum or a minimum that you need to have for the oat for it to still taste like oat? We're talking about it being an oatmeal cookie. So those are some of the things that you need to evaluate and you need to look at. But it's absolutely possible for you to swap an ingredient or reduce an ingredient. Swapping is always one of those, like, you really have to plan it properly, because when you're switching or swapping an ingredient, you have to plan it in such a way that if you are running out of raw material, running out of packaging, then you can plan it in such a way that when you're really low on the packaging, then that's when you switch, because then the new reprint will have like the new ingredient in there, and that way you're not using the wrong packaging for the right product. Like, you want your packaging to say exactly what's in your product. So that's why you have to coordinate that. When it comes to swapping an ingredient, you have to coordinate that, because your packaging needs to match the product that is in it. Like, you need to be not mislabeling your product. You need to be labeling it correctly. So when it comes to swapping, there's a lot more planning that needs to take place. There's a lot more putting into consideration, a lot more things, not just the product itself. You have to look at the packaging, how much you have, because the thing with packaging is, and a lot of the times, it's the most expensive ingredient in your product. So if that's the most expensive ingredient in your product, you need to really put into consideration every little thing that you do that could affect that specific thing, which is the packaging in this case. So that's why I'm really pushing and pressing on when it comes to swapping. Like, you have to have your ducks in a row when it comes to swapping your raw material, because then that way you're not saying the truth and you're not mislabeling your product, but then also you're putting into consideration everything that needs to be put into consideration. When it comes to just reducing some, like swapping an ingredient, or swapping is not the right word, but like evaluating the list of ingredients and still maintaining the order of ingredients, but reducing it so you can experience more margin. That's what you need to do. And this is the thing, like, if you've been selling your product for 2 years, you're going on 3 years, I would say review your recipe and see if there's anything that you need to improve or change that will not like impact your product. But anytime margin is increased, you want to go there, but not on the expense of how the product tastes like, or not on the expense of organoleptic and just the taste of the product, because that's the thing. Like, your customers know your product based on the kind of experience they experience when they put it in their mouth. And if you change that experience, it becomes a different product if they will not keep buying your product. When it comes to you maintaining your customers and even increasing your customers, like if I buy a product and I eat it and I experience I have a certain experience when it comes to like, what's the taste, what's the texture, what does it remind me of? It's kind of like imprinted. And then the next time I go buy, I get something different, then it's not fun anymore for me as a customer. But every time I buy this specific product and I get the same experiences, it just reminds me of the same thing I have every time. And that's why it's always, when it comes to like products and when it comes to anything that needs to be done to improve the product or to increase the margin, it's always best practice to involve your customers, especially your repeat customers, like having that relationship with them and say, hey, we're working on this product and we've had issues with a certain ingredient and we still want to maintain the same flavor. Could you give us feedback on what you think on this part, whatever, a different iteration of this product, and give us your feedback. Tell us what you think. If you involve your customers in that capacity, then it does protect you. It does protect you from not changing your product. Because changing your product sometimes changes your consumers, and sometimes actually more like you lose your customers when you make some changes without letting them know, or when you make some changes that are so different from what they're used to, then they just lose that connection with your product, and that's pretty much it. And it just becomes downhill from there. So that's why I wanted to answer that question. Yes, you can swap ingredients. Yes, you can improve margin, but you need to do it strategically. You need to do it in such a way that you're still maintaining the same product, like your customer is not going to notice the difference. And the other thing too, if you have to swap it, you have to swap it, but still maintain the product. The nature of the product is still maintained, but then also you have to care and you have to put into consideration the packaging. How much packaging do you have left? So you have to coordinate that change for you to be able to still get the margin that you need, but also still keep your customer happy. Because if your customer is not happy, you're not going to get the sales, and you're going to lose the business that you've been working towards and building and working hard towards. So there you go. If there's a specific product that you can see that the margin is getting low and low just with how costings are and just how the raw materials, it keeps fluctuating, you do have another chance, and you do have an opportunity to increase the margin by swapping or by changing the order, or reducing the most expensive ingredient, but still maintaining the order of ingredients. But you can do that. You can absolutely do that, because it's going to save your business and it's going to keep you in business, and it's also a lifeline for your product. And also you still get to share what you've put out in the world, and you still get to have your product serving the community that you've built and the business that you've been able to have, and also the impact that you've been able to have, because your product is impacting people, your product is helping people, and people are enjoying your product because you put it out there and you went for it. So there you go. You do have an opportunity to increase margin, and I am for you to increase margin, because I want you to enjoy the benefits of being in business and enjoy you putting out a product that is serving not just a community, but it's also serving you. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. You can absolutely swap ingredients, and you can absolutely reduce some of those expensive ingredients in your formulation when you put into consideration everything that we've talked about. So yeah, keep at it. You're doing a good job. you're on the right track and you're set to grow and set to scale and set to experience growth because you're working towards it. And anytime you take a step forward, you're also taking a step forward when it comes to the impact that you're going to have as a result of putting this product out there. So keep at it. I'm rooting you and I'm cheering you on.
If you found today's episode helpful, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future conversations on scaling your healthy food product. Each week, I share practical guidelines, real founder stories, and strategies to help you grow with more clarity and less overwhelm. And before you go, don't forget to take the Scale Up in Retail Readiness quiz linked in the show notes. It's here to help you get clear on where your business is today and what to focus on next. So thanks for spending the time with me today. Until next week, keep scaling your food business.